ABC 10 News at 5 starts right now.
ABC 10 News at 5 starts now.
A possible breakthrough in the fight against coronavirus. Good evening, I'm Lindsay Pena.
And I'm Steve Atkinson. Pfizer says its trial vaccine has been found to be 90% effective in preventing the virus. As ABC's Faith Abube reports, this news comes as the U.S. now has more than 10 million confirmed cases.
The trial involved more than 43,000 volunteers. Pfizer says that the group of patients who received the drug had a 90% lower rate of infections by the end of the trial.
We feel very good about the safety.
The FDA still needs to review the drug for safety and effectiveness. If approved, it could be available to healthcare workers and high-risk populations in a matter of months, and the general population by late summer 2021.
Well, it's exciting news. It's not going to help us this winter, but it could be a real game changer.
However, a potential vaccine won't help right now, as new coronavirus cases soar at an alarming rate. Over the weekend, the United States hitting a record 128,000 new cases in just one day, according to Johns Hopkins University. Multiple states also recording their highest new daily COVID-19 cases.
We have reached a very dangerous phase in the pandemic in the upper Midwest and now into Minnesota.
The governor of Minnesota announcing a new push for testing, while in Utah, a state of emergency.
I am placing the entire state of Utah under a mask mandate until further notice.
In Washington, D.C., HUD Secretary and Coronavirus Task Force member Dr. Ben Carson, among the latest in the president's orbit to test positive for the coronavirus. Carson and White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, who's also fighting the virus, both attended Trump's election night watch party at the White House. And just this afternoon, ABC News confirming David Bossie, an outside advisor leading the Trump campaign's legal challenges, also now has the virus. Meanwhile, in Delaware, President-elect Joe Biden unveiling his task force to work on curbing the pandemic.
I will spare no effort to turn this pandemic around once we're sworn in on January 20th.
And new data from the National Institutes of Health shows hydroxychloroquine, a treatment repeatedly touted by the president, actually does not benefit adult patients hospitalized with COVID-19. Faith Abube, ABC News, Washington.
And after Pfizer's big announcement this afternoon, there is now encouraging news for other vaccine trials. Here's ABC 10 News reporter Mimi Alcala.
I think this is frankly, the break we've all been waiting for.
After Pfizer announced early data showing its vaccine is more than 90% effective in protecting trial participants, many doctors and scientists are optimistic. This could be a huge step forward in the fight against the coronavirus.
I think it's an incredibly wonderful day for science and medicine.
While UCSD is not participating in Pfizer's trial, it is taking part in 3 other phase 3 studies: Moderna, AstraZeneca, and Janssen. UCSD's Dr. Susan Little leads 2 of those trials that resumed in San Diego County just last week. She says this type of data could mean more positive results are on the way.
And I think what this means for these trials, for frankly all of the trials that are available at this stage, this is incredibly good news because so far they all use the same approach to vaccine development. They are all targeting the same protein, the spike protein, on the coronavirus.
Pfizer says it plans to seek emergency use authorization from the FDA by the 3rd week of November. Dr. Fauci weighing in on the early analysis.
The efficacy of the Pfizer mRNA candidate is over 90%, which is just extraordinary and is going to have a major impact on everything that we do with regard to COVID. Moderna is an mRNA candidate, which we would expect would have similar results.
Pfizer CEO says he hopes other vaccines will also be successful to meet the global demand. Based on current projections, Pfizer expects to produce 50 million vaccine doses globally in 2020 and up to 1.3 billion in 2021. Mimi Alcala, ABC 10 News.
And we should be learning more from the FDA about Pfizer's vaccine here in the coming weeks. Pfizer's CEO says once available, he expects the vaccine to be free of charge for all Americans.
And here are the latest coronavirus numbers in San Diego County. 401 new cases were reported today, bringing our total to more than 60,000. And there were no new deaths, which is usually the case on Mondays, so that number remains at 908. We are one day away from learning whether San Diego County will fall into the state's most restrictive tier of coronavirus-related restrictions. That would happen if our local case rate remains above 7 per 100,000 people. Restaurants would only be allowed to serve outside. Gyms would be outdoors only. Retail stores and indoor malls would be limited to 25% capacity. Personal care salons would operate indoors with limits. Movie theaters and places of worship would operate outdoors only. The restrictions would come without a new round of stimulus to help local businesses.
And it's sustainable for a few months at a time. But if you start talking about 12, 18 months of this, you're going to see hundreds and hundreds of restaurants and bars go out of business.
The state says our county's unemployment rate is at 9%, with more than 115,000 San Diegans out of work. Classrooms at UC San Diego will look different this year. The university is experimenting with giant outdoor tents that will make for safer learning during the pandemic for students who want in-person learning. ABC 10 News anchor Vanessa Van Hafte shows us how it will work.
The epicenter of UC San Diego has a new look. These 4 outdoor tents are the newest classrooms on campus amid the COVID pandemic.
One of the things we're very lucky about being in San Diego is it's easier to do here than at the University of Michigan this time of year. And we hope that we can keep this going throughout most of the school year.
They'll have the same safety measures as any indoor facility here on campus. The 80 by 60 foot outdoor classrooms are decked out with Wi-Fi and all the technological bells and whistles. They can hold up to 50 students at a time.
We have distancing and masks, and with the wide open sides of the tents, we're basically allowing the virus to disseminate and not accumulate like it does when we're indoors.
The school's enrollment is at an all-time high with more than 40,000 students. Most are taking courses exclusively online, but these tents will give them another option of in-person learning.
And while Zoom has been a great tool to let us keep some momentum going, we really want to get people back in person to as great a degree as we can within the confines of the safety issues posed by COVID-19.
72 students and staff have tested positive for COVID-19 since October at UCSD. Dr. Schooler credits students for following protocol and keeping numbers low. The university also has the capability, he says, to test 12,000 students a day on campus. These tents will be used starting in January, and if all goes well, you will see more of them in the fall. Vanessa Van Hafte, ABC 10 News.
Other UC schools are considering trying the outdoor tents as well, including UC Berkeley and UC Santa Cruz. You can keep up with the latest news on the coronavirus by downloading our free mobile app. Just go to the App Store and search 10 News.
Turning now to our weather, the rain has moved out of San Diego County, but we are still experiencing some very cool temperatures out there. Cold, in fact. Our meteorologist, Angelica Campos, is tracking those numbers tonight. Angelica.
Hi guys, and as we look at the temperatures going into tonight, it's going to get very cold out there. Last night was very chilly. If you have not turned on the heater, you may consider that. The numbers around 49 degrees in Ramona, 39 in Julian, and 57 degrees in Kearney Mesa. But as we show you the futurecast, this is how cold it's going to be by morning. Just to give you an idea of what you're going to be waking up to, 39 degrees in Oceanside, 33 in Ramona, 48 degrees in Alpine. Areas like Mount Laguna will be also in the mid-30s. But it should get better throughout the course of the week. I'll break it all down in our 7-day forecast. I'll show you how quickly the numbers will improve at night and also during the day throughout the course of the week.
Angelica, thank you. A tree trimmer hung upside down in a palm tree in San Carlos until firefighters could finally rescue him. The man was working in the 8,000 block of Descenza Lane just after 8 o'clock this morning. Somehow he got tangled up in that palm tree and hung upside down for about 20 minutes. Firefighters were able to get him out of the tree safely. He was taken to Sharp Memorial after complaining of dizziness and nausea. A transient pleaded guilty today to setting a fire in Chula Vista. It was one of several fires. Alejandro Gonzalez is suspected of sparking over the summer. Police arrested him on September the 20th near a brush fire close to 4th Avenue. Officers say that he had several lighters on him at the time and admitted to intentionally setting several blazes because he says he heard voices. He's scheduled to be sentenced in January to a 32-month prison term.
We now know the name of the pilot who died in a plane crash that was heading to San Diego from Las Vegas last month. Friends identified him as Robert Golo. One passenger on board, Tyrone Calabar, also died. ABC 10 News reporter Melissa Maciha says those who knew the pilot said he had years of experience.
It was a flight back to Gillespie Field, a flight that never made it. Two people were aboard the twin-engine Cessna 310 when it went down just minutes after taking off from North Las Vegas Airport on October 29th. These are new photos of the passenger of the plane given to me by his best friend. 35-year-old Tyrone Calabar, seen here on the left, was killed. He's in the middle in this picture. The pilot, Robert Golo, also died.
He just loved to fly, and that was his life.
Flynn Ortiz said he got to know Robert, or Bob, because their planes were right next to each other at Gillespie Field.
I've known him for a couple of years, and I've flown with him quite a bit. He was very well, known around the airport.
Witnesses told the Clark County Fire Department they saw the plane flying low before hearing the crash. First responders say the plane struck the wall of a construction site and then burst into flames.
Kind of a shock to everybody. You still can't believe it because he was so well known and so well respected.
According to his LinkedIn page, Robert was the president of Air Charter Express, a business he'd been running since the late 1980s. Flynn said Robert's license was under more scrutiny because of his charter operation.
He owned the airplane which was involved in the accident, another twin-engine airplane, and a small jet. So he was very, very well experienced.
Both the FAA and NTSB are still investigating what led to this crash. Melissa Masiha, ABC 10 News.
A preliminary report is set to be released in the coming days. The official cause of the accident likely won't come for at least a year, according to the NTSB.
About an hour ago, the Attorney General authorized the Department of Justice to investigate allegations of voting irregularities, despite little evidence of fraud. President Trump's campaign has filed several lawsuits. But as ABC's Rina Roy reports, it's not stopping President-elect Joe Biden from getting to work.
We can get this virus under control, I promise you.
President-elect Joe Biden hitting the ground running, even before being sworn into the job. Just 2 days after his historic win, Biden revealing his strategy to turn around the impacts of the coronavirus pandemic.
We'll follow the science. We'll follow the science. Let me say that again. We can rebuild our economy back better than it was before.
Alongside his new 13-member coronavirus task force, he says he'll double the number of coronavirus testing sites and boost contact tracing, call on governors to mandate masks, and look at racial disparities with the virus. Former Surgeon General Vivek Murthy, former FDA Commissioner David Kessler, and Dr. Marcela Nunez-Smith of Yale University will lead the group.
This group will advise on detailed plans built on a bedrock of science.
Today, Pfizer announcing early results of its phase 3 vaccine trial, reporting the vaccine to be more than 90% effective in protecting recipients from getting infected. Biden acknowledging the good news, but still warning of a dark winter ahead, saying the drug likely won't be widely available for months to come, urging each and every American to do what we know works now.
It doesn't matter your party, your point of view. We could save tens of thousands of lives if everyone would just wear a mask for the next few months.
Meantime, President Trump is still defiant over the election results, tweeting today he had fired Secretary of Defense Mark Esper, also vowing to continue filing long-shot legal challenges, almost all of which have been rejected by the courts. The Trump team and their supporters making unfounded claims of voter fraud without providing evidence. The Republican Lieutenant Governor of Georgia, a state where Biden holds a narrow lead, telling CNN there has been no sign of voter fraud in the battleground state.
At this point, we've not seen any sort of credible examples.
Votes are still being counted there, as well as in North Carolina and Arizona. Meantime, the president's campaign is planning to file even more legal challenges today. Rina Roy, ABC News, Wilmington, Delaware.
And in more news today, President Trump announced that he fired Secretary of Defense Mark Esper. The two clashed this summer over the president's attempts to use active troops on American streets to control protests against police brutality. The president says that Christopher Miller, who serves as the director of the National Counterterrorism Center, will become the acting secretary effective immediately.